All right, welcome to the March meeting, of the Airport Special Management Committee. First, we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. Flags right here. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Well, welcome everyone. First item on our agenda is any public comment on the consent agenda. Seeing none, we'll close that portion of the agenda. So we'll move to the consent agenda. There's only 2 items. Does anybody have anything they want to pull?
I move that we approve the item.
I'll second it.
All right. Any discussion on the consent agenda? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. You're gonna get out of here quick anyway.
Yes, I am. Good grief.
Robbie found out some news about her bank that she wanted to go deal with.
There is a quorum, but I wouldn't do that. So.
All right, so administrative agenda. Brian.
Good afternoon, everybody. Brian McGonigal for the record. I just have one today. Item 3, we are requesting that ASMC schedule oral presentations to review the 2 qualified proposals for RFP 2306, non-exclusive food, beverage, and retail concessions. We've talked about this for a couple of years now. This is the 3rd package that will complement the host and parodies. So we advertised it on September 19th last year. And on January 31st, we received 3 proposals. The 3 were Canalink MD LLC, Olston Estes Southwest Concessions, and SSP America. Procurement department deemed Canalink non-responsive. They did not meet the minimum qualifications. So we had a publicly held staff evaluation committee last month on February 22nd to review the 2 proposals, Olson and SSP. We had a really good discussion. It was a 3-hour meeting. The summaries are in your backup. We recommend, and then we did our own internal ranking. We think one was slightly better, rose to the top, but absolutely they both can do the job. We recommend that you hear them, bring them back, and we could bring them back next month. Oral presentations.
Thank you. So, is it the committee's pleasure to hear the
I make a
presentations?
motion that we hear the
You want to make that as a
presentation.
motion?
Yes, sir.
Is
I
that
make a motion that we hear the presentation.
I'll second that. Thank you, Noel. All right, is there any discussion about the motion? All in favor?
Mr. Chairman, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
excuse me.
Sorry to interrupt. Because this is an administrative item, you'll need to ask if there's any public comment
I'm sorry.
regarding that item.
Is, prior to our vote, is there any public comment on the administrative item number 3? Seeing none, okay, now I'll call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimously carried.
All right,
Thank
thank you.
you,
And then
Mr. Trang.
Melissa's just going to pull
Chairman.
the
Oh,
order. Do the order.
go ahead, Noel. You're a champ at this.
Thank you.
Okay. SSP America.
Okay.
All right, so the first
Okay.
We're almost done.
proposer
I'm
to
okay.
present for RFP 2306 for non-exclusive food, beverage, and retail concessions is SSP America. The second presenter will be Olson Estes Southwest Concessions LLC.
Okay. Thank you very much. Now, Stephen.
Good morning, or I guess good afternoon. Stephen Hennigan for the record. This is for administrative agenda number 4. At the February 21st, 2023 ASMC meeting, the committee requested oral presentations be given for the operation and management of airport parking and shuttle services at Southwest Florida International Airport. Today we have the 3 presentations for you, after which we request that you rank the firms.
Thank
Any
you.
questions?
Well, do you have their orders? We have their orders
We
set,
do,
don't
I
we?
believe, yes.
Good afternoon. Melissa Wendell, Senior Procurement Manager for Lee County Port Authority. As Deputy Executive Director Hennigan stated, we will hear presentations today from 3 proposers for RFP 23-21, Operation and Management of Airport Parking Facilities and Shuttle Services for Lee County Port Authority. Each proposer will have 10 minutes for their presentations. That will be followed by an unlimited amount of time for you to engage in questions and hear the responses from the Airport Special Management Committee. And then it will conclude with a 1-minute summary from the proposer. So I would like to invite the first proposer up to present to you ABM Aviation Incorporated, Mr. Stephen Aiello, Senior Vice President.
Thank you. Oh, okay. You'll post all that. Go ahead.
Good afternoon. On behalf of ABM Aviation, I'd like to thank the Lee County Port Authority and the Airport Special Management Committee. We're thrilled to be here today. I'd like to start off by introducing our team. I'm Stephen Aiello, Senior Vice President for ABM Aviation.
Larry DeLuca, Vice President for ABM Aviation. We also have with us Matt Giebert, our Regional Operations Manager. We had Patty Ruff in our proposal as our proposed General Manager. She has some serious medical issues with her husband and is unfortunate would not be able to make this presentation. So with our depth of executive leadership, we have Tahir Elaine with us as our proposed GM for this project, along with Margaret Kahn, our Senior Director for PCI Compliance, and then we will go from there.
I think just to mention the depth of experience from our team, all of us have 20+ years in the parking transportation industry at various types of operations at various airports across the country. Real briefly on our support team, Josh Feinberg, he's our Executive Vice President for Strategy, Technology, and Parking. Dana Hasty, who works by my side, she's a Senior Director of Finance for Aviation. Paula Davis heads up Human Resources for Aviation, and Sean Nacy is our Business Development Manager. And hand this over to Larry, talk about our qualifications.
Thank you. Again, we have a depth of knowledge in landside aviation parking. We serve over 75 of the airports globally. We generate over $1.5 billion in our clients' revenue and secure that daily. We park over 1 million vehicles per day. We serve over half of the 50 top airports in the country. And we process over $6 million in credit card transactions yearly. And ABM is a level 1 merchant. And you'll hear a little bit more about that from Margaret. One thing I want to highlight is our technology implementation. You'll hear a little bit about that. But also a differentiator with ABM is our EV charging and e-mobility division. So as we look at sustainability and moving forward in that area, we are one of the top providers and installers of EV in the country. In addition, transportation, we have a fleet of over 1,300 buses, range from CNG, unleaded, natural gas, and electric. Our financial strength is impeccable. You can't compare it to anyone, which allows us to procure any type of assets that the airport or our clients would look for, whether it's buses, control equipment, and so on. We transport over 4.5 million passengers daily. And then we have a contractual national partnership. We understand in this contract, maintenance is provided by the airport, but we also have that bandwidth that we can move out and have that taken care of as well. We operate over 800 airport shuttles. Just a little bit about our Florida presence in itself. We have over 45,000 parking stalls in the state, 4,800 team members. Uh, You know, we understand the labor market today, and what ABM has done with our talent acquisition is we have a Florida-based recruiting center. Understanding that it's in today's labor market, a struggle with that, we want to make sure that we're dedicated to this market and have the resources. 20-plus years of parking and transportation. And then just to show you our strength in airports and partnership, even here at Lee County, we have partnered with the airlines over 4 years in wheelchair. And then, of course, Orlando, Tampa, Palm Beach, and Fort Lauderdale as well. I'm going to turn it over to Margaret and Hanak to talk about the diversity and PCI.
Hello. ABM is committed to diversity, equity, and inclusion. We've just developed a culture where every employee has the opportunity to grow within the organization through mentorships, programs, and training. We have very high goals for our inclusion, and we not only meet our goals, but we exceed them. We take that same approach with our minority partners. We want these partnerships to be true partnerships where we offer our partners the ability to grow their business, to succeed, and to learn in the industry. And we share ideas together, and it works out great for everybody. Antonio Lemus, CPA, began working with ABM about 22 years ago at the Orlando International Airport. He is now an expert in parking audits, and he works with ABM nationwide, providing a variety of audit services in both our commercial and aviation parking environments. Likewise, U Street Parking brings real value to this relationship. They have a depth of knowledge in the parking industry and a depth of experience in parking and transportation. And we're lucky enough to have you, Hanak, with us here today.
Thank you, Margaret. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Henok Tesfaye. I'm the president and CEO of U Street Parking. We've been in business for the last 25 years, since 1998. We are a Washington-based company. We've been partnered with ABM since 2008. They've been mentoring us as a minority partner. They took us around all over the country. This is a mentor project program. ABM has been a true partner. I've seen that for the last 15 years. They're really mentoring us from one airport. We manage about 8 airports together as we speak. So that's what we're here for. We look forward to working with you. Thank you.
One last side I want to clarify. These are our ACDB partners that, per the requirements of the RFP, we had set a goal several points ahead above what was the minimum requirement. And these two firms would be our primary ACDB partners.
So another priority at ABM is PCI compliance, and this is actually the world that I live in. I'm a PCI Security Council certified internal security assessor and a PCI professional. ABM is a level 1 merchant. What makes you a level 1 is that you process at least 6 million transactions of any one card type. So what you saw on the previous slide, it kind of got a little mistake in there. We actually did $850 million in credit card revenue last year. The 6 million was in reference to exceeding the threshold to be a level 1 merchant. We do have a full report on compliance conducted by an independent QSA firm. And when we are the merchant of record, we take full responsibility for all PCI compliance and the requirements. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you have after the presentation.
Good afternoon. My name is Matthew Gabriel. I'm the Regional Operations Manager. So ABM strives to use the newest technology, the most robust technology in all of our systems. And for our shuttle operations, that includes our Lytics cameras and our Passio. So these are third-party vendors that we use. They're very much more robust than what we've used in the past. Lytics cameras, we use that for operational training for our operators, for our shuttle bus operators, also for a safety tool for our customers, our passengers, and our operators. Passio, we use Passio in 2 different ways. A, for GPS shuttle tracking, so we always know where the shuttles are at, so we know that they're moving and doing what they're supposed to be doing. Also for the automated passenger counts. Used to, we write all the passenger counts numbers down and have everything manually like that. Now it's all automated, so we can do that dynamic driver scheduling to meet that historical demand of the traffic coming in.
I just wanted to add with Lytics just very quickly. We have used, since 2003, DriveCam and Smart Drive, which we noticed are in some of the buses now. Lytics, we just feel is a more robust, and it's also something where your tablet, you can put it on the tablet, where our supervisors, our managers, or even our client, if requested, can look at the buses, see what they're doing, and see what the driver's behavior is, and we can share that with you.
And lastly, on the topic of technology, we have a platform. We put a lot of information in our proposal on this, ABM Vantage. It is a full integrated mobility platform. It's the only one that's successfully been rolled out in airports. And what this does, if you look at the technologies and the services on the left, all of those technologies are integrated through one platform for reporting, for data analytics. And what that does is drive smart decision-making at your fingertips. You have the information. So as operators and our clients together, we work together based on the KPIs of our airport clients to maximize revenue, improve operational efficiencies, enhance guest experience, and any sustainability goals. This is live at LAX and at Denver Airport, and we continue to roll out with other clients. I hope you have some questions on that. And we do have some closing remarks, but yellow light is on, so I'm going to save that for our last minute. But I would love to thoroughly answer any questions you have.
All right. Any questions?
Have you taken a look at our system that we have currently, and are there a room for efficiencies to be achieved in our current system?
Perfect question.
Sure. So, we feel from the shuttle component, you got a very large long-term lot. Trunk-to-trunk service is fantastic to have. It's a great service to the client and customer, but it also takes up a lot of time rotation-wise. Shuttle stops might be something to look at. Still be able to offer maybe to those in need that shuttle or trunk-to-trunk, but we feel that the rotation can certainly get through a lot quicker and timely and more efficient, maybe with less buses as well, than a trunk-to-trunk service and a lot that size. The other thing from a shuttle component is we mentioned passio and passenger count. That's very critical when you look at dynamic staffing. Right now, you're probably looking at static staffing. You have X amount of people, X amount of buses running. When you start looking at and getting that analytic and those numbers from passenger counts, you understand the peaks and valleys of the business. Now we're scheduling to the demand as opposed to just throwing drivers out there driving around in circles, off-peak, on-peak times. Certainly there's a lot of things from a parking side that we can look at. What's the latest and greatest in technology? I notice, if it's something the airport or the Lee County would look for. But, again, you have the SunPass that we use in other airports here in Florida that can be an alternative. And then certainly with Vantage, I think that would give a great opportunity and leap in that area as well. And it's not just for parking, it's also for transportation technology.
Yeah, and just on that, because we're big believers in applying technology for smarter and better outcomes. And if you look at some of these things, the technologies that are not currently in place, and there may not be budgets or even a need for it currently, but over the next 5 to 10 years, that will very likely change. So when we talk about online booking systems, the ability to go online, book your pass, use your pass as your credential to get it in and out of the garage. About 75% of the airports now have online booking systems. That's certainly something we would recommend, and that's under the Vantage platform. You may have a need for valet to have that upper tier level service for those who want it. So that's another technology and service that we could implement as well. And then you have the parking guidance system, right? So maybe in the next evolution of growth for this airport, we may decide that it's worth the investment in the green light, red light, or the directional and accounting to better direct more efficiently people to open available parking. So these are all technologies, I think, over the next 5 to 10 years, you're going to need to evaluate and work into capital budgets. And as your trusted partner, we can help you with that.
Thank you very much.
Robbie?
So what you're saying is you already have all of those and you're operating those, so you would be.
That's correct. And
Okay.
not one size fits all for every airport. We operate some very small airports and we operate very large airports, the largest airports in the country. But I think we do know all of these. We know what's the right size, and we are great mentors and partners with our clients. So we're their trusted advisor on these types of things, whether we do them ourselves or bring in third-party partners. But we built out the data analytics that bring data from these systems. That's really what Vantage brings, that no other system brings. And so we can all sit down, look at the data, look at the counts, look at the shuttle route data, look at the parking exit entry data, occupancy data, make the right decisions. And this also goes to the point of, varied pricing, right? Maybe you don't charge the same rate during every day of the year. Maybe seasonal, you have different parking rates, right, based on demand. And maybe you offer more discounted rates on the off season. So there's a lot of things that data can help you drive that can really tie you in with the best way to maximize revenue, enhance the guest experience, to get parking guidance system, get that spot faster, add a valet at a premium rate service. There's a lot of things that we could do. But yes, we have all these systems and various components rolled out across the country.
Okay. The next thing I have is, I noticed that you said you had back here a Florida-based recruiting center, and I'm noticing in my reading that that's in Orlando. Is
Yes,
that
ma'am.
correct?
That
Okay.
is correct.
So have you ever have you done anything with us before? Is this your first time coming in and doing things
We
with
have
us?
wheelchair, but it's through the airline at this airport. It's not with the airport itself. So we do have business here at Lee County.
Okay, so if you got this parking, would you be needing to bring in staff?
Well, we would hire and certainly take on the staff that's here if we were the fortunate ones to take over. We'd like to transition with the current team if they meet our requirements, and that's our background checks, our drug screens, and so on. And that would be the easiest and smoothest transition because you do have some seasoned employees, I'm sure, especially drivers or cashiers or whomever. So that would be the way to go. But then in addition, we would certainly be doing the recruiting on the outside. Because just because you have X amount of employees currently, we can't say that we're going to be able to take them all in based on our credentials and what we're looking for. So we would start that during the transition period, that we'd be advertising, getting our talent acquisition team in Orlando engaged for those various positions.
Okay, and where I was going with that is, obviously, you're familiar with our rental market and our affordable housing market,
Right.
which is very tight right now.
Yeah, and
Extremely
that's why
tight.
we put into our numbers.
Recruiting center being in Orlando, I want to make sure you are totally aware
Yes, ma'am.
of bringing people
Yeah,
in.
we understand. And that's why we put into our numbers as well, what the current rate of pay is that we saw within the RFP. And we've increased that, I don't want to say substantially, but we've increased it to what we feel the market would bear for a driver, for cashier, and so on.
Okay. And last thing, I hate, and I send my concerns for the Patty Ruff, that she couldn't be here today, right? But that will be your on-site,
That would be the resident manager, the general
the
manager.
overall parking?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So she's 15 years with ABM. Tell me why you should feel real comfortable with her. Has she been here and visited this airport and see how it works and different things? And
She, in all honesty, she had not been here to see the airport, but she is very, very well knowledgeable in airports. She is our assistant general manager in Minneapolis, St. Paul, very large hub airport. So she is very familiar with that. But again, because of family issues, we don't know exactly where that's going to lie. There's been a very serious situation with her husband.
sure, and it's God, family, and then business. I'm all over that. That's our philosophy.
Yes, ma'am.
But, I just need to make sure that she's got the experience that
Yes, ma'am.
your firm has in the technology and the equipment side, and she's familiar with our
Yes, ma'am.
airport.
Yes, and Minneapolis, St. Paul, actually, we've gone from having about 20-plus cashiered live lanes down to very few. So she's very familiar with the automation piece of it and being able to streamline that. And the other thing, when it comes to staffing, if you're very happy with the current general manager, and if we're the selected company, which we hope we are, we can look at that individual as well. Again, we want to make sure that we're getting the right person for this opportunity for you.
We do too. because
Yep.
parking is obviously a first impression and a lasting impression.
Yes, ma'am.
And, you know, we can do everything right internally here, and then parking drives people
And
crazy.
you're exactly right. And I think our philosophy is, you know, because of our size and our resources, we have a phenomenal bench strength of talent ready to step up into this position. That's why we brought Tahir as well. Tahir is our assistant GM over at Dallas Fort Worth. So we always love to give multiple options and allow our clients to interview our proposed manager. So Patty was our first choice, but Tahir, you know, would be able to step in and do the job equally as well. And there are others behind those two. So be assured we have the pipeline of talent to make sure we put the right individual in place here.
And with Tahir, just very quickly, 13 years in the business with ABM. And he is the general manager at DFW, and he runs a very large shuttle operation. So not in addition to parking experience, he has a robust background in shuttle as well. And we're talking transient buses, so he's very familiar with the large CDL driver and so on, and technology that goes behind that.
John?
I'm sure you're familiar with our current system of entry and I'll call it checkout. Have you got ideas on how to improve that?
And you're referring to the parking facilities,
Yeah.
correct? A lot, we could be here hours on this, but I'll tell you where the industry is headed and where some, we'll call it technology upgrades and integrations we've done in airports of similar size. So right now you've Hub, which is a parking access revenue control system. It's what we'll call the bare functions of a park system, right? So a ticket feed. It also works with transponders to go in and out as a credential. We would suggest, and it's a very simple and inexpensive upgrade, to roll out the OBS, which is online booking system. That's when you're able to, you know, at some airports, Tampa's up to about 30% online. And the benefit of the online, number one, you have a captured customer, right, who plans ahead, has their pass, has routing directions. It's a one stop for all information on how to get correctly and quickest into their parking facility. And they don't have to pull a ticket. They scan their mobile device or they scan their printout pass. And that is their device to open the gate upon entry and upon exit. So, and great analytics, because what that does, then that person is registered with RSW, and you can communicate with that guest, and tell them about upcoming events or about construction, you know, alerts and things like that. So a lot of wonderful things. I would say that's one component you could add onto your existing park system. I think down the road, maybe, you know, what we did at some other airports was with LPR. So that's with the cameras, license plate recognition system, to come in. That can be integrated so that your license plate is your credential. And these are things that can be added on easily to your existing system. These are not standalone where you have to rip and replace. So I'd say that's something that you want to look at. What the benefits of an LPR system, again, if you register online, then you don't even need your mobile device or whatever, because your license plate is registered. It'll read that license plate and the gate will go up. So cars are coming in and out quicker, not having to transact through any machines. And again, if you get 30% of your volume into that type of base, think about the ease of flow, right, in and out of the facility. And of course, people are demanding more and more technology. We'd love to look at your EV charging situation and see what your needs will be over the next 5-10 years for electrical vehicle charging, fleet procurement, and how to integrate those technologies like we've suggested, so that you have real good data and are making sure we're running that as efficiently as possible. So a lot of great ideas, and we put a lot of this into our proposal, but really it takes a sit-down conversation, understand what your priorities are, and then we customize those solutions for our clients.
Okay, thank you. I'm good.
And you can also integrate in, you have a rewards program right now where, you know, for probably as many stays or money that you spend, you get free parking. You can start to incorporate that into the OBS system as well. So you're consolidating that RSW reward program into the OBS system as well.
Appreciate it. Scott?
You talk about the $6 million break. Is that $6 million transactions, or is that $6 million?
So the card brands, credit card companies build your status level based on the number of transactions.
Number of transactions,
Yes,
not
6
number of
million,
dollars.
right, 6 million is the top threshold to be
Understood.
considered low.
Um,
Our revenue is about 850 million.
The way you say
right now.
revenue, it's 6 million or 8 million, whatever that number is. Is that dollars or is that transactions?
It's transactions, and that's only one card type, but we exceed that by month 3, and I think.
Do you do Salt Lake City by any chance?
We were there for parking for many, many years. We do, I don't think we're there anymore now for transportation, so no, I don't believe so.
Okay. Who owns the equipment that you use? The scanners, the,
So you have one cave, P2PE, point-to-point encrypted readers here. That's your equipment, you own it. We will,
the microphone, just so that.
yeah. So we will own the merchant numbers that will be installed in your equipment. We will assume full responsibility for all PCI compliance. We have a contract with WinCave, who is the provider you're using now, the gateway services for your point-to-point encrypted transactions. And you own the equipment, but we would own the merchant account.
Airport Authority owns the equipment.
You own the, yes, you own the equipment now.
You familiar that we don't have a front license plate requirement in
Yeah.
Florida?
I actually live in Florida, just north of Orlando, so yes.
So you were talking about it'll scan your license plate. How's it gonna scan the rear plate on the way in?
Great question. And also, I mean, there's a bunch of crazy plates out there, right? We go to certain states. So LPR is, the technology does it from the rear, front or rear, or both. And it's actually become so precise, it's actually mapping models, making models of vehicles, not just the license plate. I mean, so the technology has evolved to be able to do that, even with just the rear.
Scanner that would scan.
It would be at the entrance. It would be at the entrance.
Yeah.
So at the entrance, you'd have a camera, so as a vehicle passes through, if they pull a ticket or have credentials, they'll be able to scan the license plate at that point in time. And then on the exit.
So the license plate
exit would be
scan
the same.
won't open the gate. Is that,
It-
you know,
It-
that's like beyond my pay grade, so I don't.
No, it will. I mean, they're always, depending on the entry configuration, it's always positioned, so it's gonna be able to read either a front or a rear or both license plates. That's critical. And sometimes you have the curved, and so that's why you kind of, every entry is a little different, every exit's a little different, but you position it so that it's read properly.
And then do you use the red light, green light, red light for no parking in this row?
Yep.
Green light?
What you're referring to is the parking guidance system. And, you know, I'd say probably about 70% of certainly the mid to larger airports all have parking guidance systems in their bigger garages. There's different various systems. You can do the individual light. Really the industry's gone away from that. And now you have these smart camera sensors that do an entire row. So what you'll see as you're approaching in, it'll give you levels of what available spaces on each level so that you can choose, and it'll close down a level if a level's full. But then once you're up on that level, it'll have row signals. So a green means there's available spaces down that row. And it's become very relatively inexpensive to install these, given that you've cut down on the number of cameras. You're not putting the little pucks in the pavement anymore like it was done a decade ago. It's all done through smart camera technologies. And that is something that's very big in airports because it's also been proven of a huge sustainability. It cuts down emissions, cuts down idling, cuts down circling, looking for spaces. So it's something a lot of airports are very interested in implementing into their technology platform.
How come you're not in Salt Lake City anymore? How'd you lose that account?
Well, we had been there for over 35 years.
Yeah,
So
so how'd
sometimes-
you lose the account?
I personally don't know.
Time for a change, that's
Hmm?
time for a change, see what else is
With
out
a new
there.
terminal?
Yeah, and we actually did the transition, I think Matt was involved with the busing between the old terminal and the new terminal for people who flew out of the old and flew into the new, so, yeah. That
But
was-
Salt Lake City said they're very sorry they changed.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Okay,
Randy.
I'm done. Thank you.
All right, time for your wrap-up, sir.
All right, thank you. This is the Q&A is the best part. I just love the engagement. Well, on the note, I would say, you know, you've been with your current operator, contracting for a very, very long time. And hopefully we can give you some compelling reasons to trust ABM as your trusted advisor and partner. I'm just going to summarize some of the things that we know, we brought to the table that are differentiators. Our overall aviation experience with parking and transportation is unequaled across the country. If any situation, every kind of technology, every kind of solution that could possibly bring benefit, we've seen it, we've done it, we've implemented it, we're passionate about it, and we're the strongest transportation operator by far as well. So our overall experience of what that could bring, our meaningful commitment to minority partnerships, something we believe highly in. We've introduced one of our minority partners here. We don't see it just as a contract obligation, but
Thank
also, yeah. Thank you.
Great job.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
Okay, next.
Ben? What was our current?
SP plus.
Okay,
The
thanks.
next. Aren't they? The next one? No. Stop. There's a third. The third one.
They're number 3 on the.
Yeah, I think so. Aren't they number 3?
Yeah.
Thank you both.
Thank you, appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, oh yeah, we're ready. Thank you, I'm sorry.
Sure. Okay, at this time, I would like to introduce Laz Parking LLC, Kendra Petty. She's the Executive Vice President for Laz Parking.
All right, welcome. You may begin.
Great. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for having us. I am Kendra Petty, Executive Vice President in Airport Services for Laz Parking. I'd like to introduce the team with me today real quick. We have David Bond, who is our Laz Proposed General Manager. Kenya Tucker, who is with CCD, our ACDBE partner. She is the Operations VP for CCD. Don Barrett, our Vice President in Airport Services for Laz Parking. Paula Henry, Vice President of Transportation Services. Chris Walsh, our RVP of Florida, was to be here today, but he is very sick, so we asked him to stay home. And as I said, I'm Kendra Petty. Thank you very much for having us. It's an honor to be here. We're very grateful to be a part of this process. I'd like to tell you a little bit about Laz Parking and our Airport Services Group. Laz Parking is the largest privately held parking and transportation company in the United States. We manage over 3,500 properties in 465 cities, and we employ almost 14,000 team members. We manage $1.4 billion in parking revenues per year on behalf of our clients. We have experience at 32 airports in North America. Our largest airport in the U.S. is LAX. We manage parking, some of the parking, busing lines, and ground transportation and curbside. Previous to COVID, we had 650 employees in 3 different contracts at LAX. Today, we have 2 different contracts. One closed down because of COVID. We have 2 different contracts at LAX with 550 employees. We run almost 100 buses for them in 5 different bus lines. And we run their ground transportation and their curbside for all 10 terminals. We also work at Sacramento International Airport, managing almost $70 million in parking revenue and running a bus service for 38 different buses. We work at Nashville Airport, running self-parking and valet. It's the largest valet operation in the United States. At peak, we have 2,400 cars in our inventory. We just recently transitioned Pittsburgh Airport last October. running all their landside services, shuttles, valet, parking. In our first month at Pittsburgh, we increased revenue by $1 million compared to the $4 million that they would typically collect, and we have done so every month since then. So an incredible return there. We were recently awarded and transitioned Pensacola Airport. We run their ground transportation, their parking, and their shuttle service. We transitioned that February 1, and we were also just recently awarded Long Beach Airport and are in the process of transitioning. So we have considerable airport experience. Our largest airport was Toronto Airport in Canada, managing $150 million in parking revenue a year for them, as well as the valet service. As far as our airport services, we provide pretty much any landside service, parking, busing, wheelchair assist, baggage handling. We even provide airline ticket sales agents for a particular airline at an airport. We could do airside busing, but really our focus is many services on the land side. Our transportation group, which Paula Henry oversees, includes over 100 unique transportation services throughout the U.S. 17 of those busing and shuttles are at airports. We have 1,300 DOT-regulated drivers. We manage 841 buses and shuttles throughout the U.S., so a very robust transportation division along with our parking division. Our Florida presence, and we think this is a very important component to our services. We have 128 locations in Florida, over 900 employees, and almost 50 managers. Here in the Fort Myers and Naples area, we've been here since 2006, and we've got over 60 employees, from bellmen to valet drivers to cashiers and lot attendants. We have 4 managers and operations managers in the area, all within about a half an hour drive from this airport. So we would utilize those employees to help. We would cross-train them and utilize them to backfill positions for PTOs or any call-outs or peak seasons, peak times of the year. We would also support the airport, not just with our Florida presence, but also with our transportation division and Paula's whole team, as well as the airport services group, Don and I and our whole team. So we really put a lot of effort to supporting our airports, not just through transition, but ongoing operations as well. David Bond is our proposed GM. David has worked at 5 different airports throughout the U.S., so he's got incredible parking and shuttle experience. He's worked at Dulles, Washington Dulles, Cleveland Hopkins, San Diego International, Raleigh-Durham, and Burbank Airport. So he brings a considerable amount of airport expertise, and he is our proposed GM for this operation. Our ACDBE partner is a company that we work with at Nashville Airport, and we have a great relationship with them, CCD. Daryl Searcy is the founder. They are a Florida-based company, but they work at 32 different airports, providing a variety of services, including parking and transportation. So they would work very closely with us through this transition and ongoing operations to provide some of the labor. There's a couple of things that we think LAS does really, really well, and one of them is technology. We've got a technology and innovation committee and team that is dedicated to just reaching across the globe and finding the best technology available for our parkers and our clients and our riders. And we spent millions of dollars to develop our technology, including a business intelligence system, yield management, dynamic pricing. We have a module for each one of those. Our LASGO reservation system, which could be implemented here at no cost to the airport other than the hardware scanners. There is a small chargeback for the end user, but it is no cost to the airport. We have a LAS parking app where employees can sign up and pay for their parking. You could make a reservation, you can text to park. We've got a customer care center for 24 hours, 7-day-a-week customer care so that our customers always have access to a real person when they're exiting or entering and they need assistance. We also have a web widget and our hardware as a service. So we've really focused on how can we improve the parker and the rider's experience, as well as our clients. How can we improve their reporting and their tracking of their numbers through our business intelligence system? The other thing that we feel like we are really strong and do really well, but sets us apart from our competitors, is our culture. Our culture is the fabric of LAS Parking, and our culture is one of servant leadership. we really focus on employee contentment. And so we realize our hourly employees are our front line, they're our first and last impression. So our job is to support them, to make sure that they're given the tools and the training to do their job well, but also given the support. Employees want to be heard, they want to be part of the solution. So we believe that showing up for our employees and really providing servant leadership and supporting them so that they show up differently every day. They show up happy to be in the booth or driving a shuttle or on the curb. So our culture is really the bottom line of our company. And with that, I will wrap it up and open it up to questions.
All right, thank you. Questions? Go ahead.
One of the things we're taking a look at right now is we're looking at our situation with our parking. And we have our parking covered garage is full all the time. And we do have most of the time additional space out in the long-term parking. Are there different mechanisms within your company that could help us make work on our pricing structure so we get fewer people parking in the covered garage and more parking outside?
Absolutely. I'll take this first, and then if anybody wants to follow and jump in. So there's a few things that we would look at. One would be to implement our reservation system so that we can have some predictive analysis of who's booking what spaces in long-term, short-term. We would also tie that into our business intelligence system so we can do some predictive analysis through that. Our business intelligence system has the capability that we can pull historical data from years ago and plug it into our BI system. We could plug in weather, enplanements, airline bookings, and take that historical data, and we'll know on December 1st of 2024 if the long term is going to be full and we need to shift people to the short term or vice versa. So it's a great predictive analysis tool, but it's also got a pricing module. So we can plug in all different scenarios for your rates and determine where the break point and the threshold would be to move different parkers around, which also helps in terms of running specials through your reservation system with dynamic pricing or maybe couponing to push people to different parking products. So we definitely have a lot of different tools through technology to help us figure out what the pricing should be and where we can move those different parkers, and if you're going to be full on any particular day.
So with Don Barrett, VP of Operations for Airport Services. So with the dynamic pricing, pulling that information back from your existing system that you have the historical data on allows them to say, all right, if we did a $1 or $2 increase in the garage, what's that going to do? How much of that is going to bleed over into the long-term lot? The other thing that that we would recommend looking at based on our observations is being able to get customers into a parking spot, because we've seen over the last several days a lot of customers driving around the short-term garage looking for a spot. While they are expensive, a parking guidance system would minimize that. We would also look at putting some additional signage on the front end road that the short-term garage is full. So let's go ahead and push those customers so they're not spending 20 minutes searching for that spot that they're looking for. Done through business intelligence, done through new equipment installed in the parking garage and even within the long-term lot, so that we can get those customers to the parking spaces a little bit quicker, a little bit easier to get them on their road and on their airplane.
So you can use this data then to determine and make recommendations in terms of when do we add another story to the garage?
Correct.
When do we add more acreage to our outdoor parking? So you'd be able to provide us the data.
Yeah, I mean, right now your garage is running probably, without looking at the numbers, it's running probably 90 to 95% full 10 months out of the year. So now it's time to figure out how do we move those customers out of the garage to the long-term lot. And then at what point does the long-term occupancy demand level, when it hits 80%, you've got to start looking at other space to put those cars, because it's, knock on wood, the airline industry is only going to keep growing and growing and growing. We're not going to have another setback like the pandemic.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Scott, go ahead.
Who owns the equipment that you use?
The parking revenue control equipment that's in the lots and the garages?
No, I mean, yeah, the scanners, whatever you use.
The airport typically owns it.
We would own that.
Right. we're happy to buy it for you. We have the funds. We're a very well-funded company. We can buy it upfront and then extrapolate it over the term of the agreement if you didn't want to spend your own money, but typically you own it.
Who owns last?
We have 4 original founders, Al Lazowski, Jeff Karp, Michael Harth, and Michael Kuziak, who founded it 41 years ago out of Hartford, Connecticut, and have grown it organically. But 14 years ago, we sold 50% of our company to a company in Paris, France called Vinci Park, owned by Vinci, which is an enormous company who owns a number of different infrastructure companies. They wanted to be in parking in the United States. They owned a parking company, so they bought 50% of us. And for 14 years, it was an incredible partnership. A lot of our technology came from them because a lot of this technology has been in use in Europe for many, many years. So we took a lot of their technology, Americanized it, and rolled it out about 10 years ago at thousands of locations now for us. Last year, after 14 years of this partnership, we outpaced and outgrew Vinci. They later rebranded to Indigo, but we outgrew them and we became bigger than them. And so we decided it was time to sever that relationship. And so we bought back our shares from them and we brought in Argo as an investor. So Argo owns a portion of our company now, and we are no longer associated with Vinci Park. It was a fantastic partnership, but we just outgrew it.
Tail wagging the dog.
Right, exactly. I don't miss those 3 a.m. 2-hour presentations to the French because they're 8 hours ahead of us. Very dicey, English, but tough for them.
I guess that's it.
All right, anybody else over here?
Mr. Bond, I see, are you presently in California?
Yes.
Yeah,
No, he's right here.
no.
I'm looking at him.
Presently, my name's David Bond, proposed general manager for Laz Parking. Presently, I oversee about 15, 16 operations, parking and shuttle operations in Orange County. If selected for this would be an opportunity. I'm born and raised in Orlando, my parents as well, and so I see this as an opportunity. Right now, I spend a lot of time driving between locations, so there's a lot of upsides for me, family, and I have a background in airports that this is actually where I prefer to be. So, but yeah, right now I'm Orange County, California.
So, so you went to UCF?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
You're saying that you oversee about 15?
Yes, ma'am.
operations
So,
already?
yeah, it's a mix, a lot of municipality locations. So our company does a lot of the transportation and parking. So with Kaiser University, Kaiser Hospital, UCI, University, a lot of Laguna Beach, Dana Point, San Clemente, San Juan Capistrano. A lot of the local municipalities use our transportation services and parking services. So I'm kind of stretched quite a bit. I oversee the whole area.
Wow, okay, so because you readily recognize you're stretched, and so are you familiar with, have you been through and observed our airport here?
Just briefly, to be honest. So over the last couple of days, I've gone through the short-term, long-term structures and taken a look at the employee shuttle operation. Kind of looking for things that could use some attention. So one of the things I'd look at is kind of the shuttle schedules, make sure that we're running efficiently, that there's not 4 shuttles in the lot at a time, and see if there's ways to improve on the efficiencies, the timing of the departures from the terminal. Make sure, take a good look at that and see if there's ways that we could want to make sure that we run efficiently as possible. And same thing, like he was mentioning in the garages, ways to save parkers time from driving around, not being able to find a space. So just for the few days that I've been here.
Okay, well, as Scott was saying, any form of technology is above my pay grade, I assure you. But do you feel you're pretty savvy with the technology, because everything seems technology?
Right.
And technical equipment, and
Right.
when something breaks down,
Right.
oh my Lord, where are you gonna be?
Right. So I'm always on location. I spend a lot of time at the location. My experience at National Harbor It's a massive location, had 3 parking structures, multiple surface lots. And similar to there, when things go wrong, we have policies in place and there's people that typically do the troubleshooting. But even over there at National Harbor, I would be fixing banknote jams if the pay on foot machine got stuck. So I am familiar with the systems. I would look to you guys for what exactly kind of reports are you looking for on a weekly, monthly basis? What, what's most interesting to you? What do you want to see? But I've worked with a lot of different equipment, and been able to troubleshoot and where needed, reach out to the vendor, the companies that, when needed, would need tech assistance, call them up, bring them out. But I am present to address most of it, make sure that the managers, supervisors are doing what they need to do and reach out for help. Even if I'm at home on the weekend, whatever, we got to get it fixed.
You made me think of something. Um, so what we're hiring you to do is to make money for us. I mean, that's the bottom line, right? Well, I mean, collect the money and report back. So our first priority would be counting the money and security of the money. And, there's a lot of money there. Absolutely. And how do you keep from theft and things like that happening?
If I could just clarify for something you were asking earlier,
Sure.
ma'am, before we move on. When David said he was stretched, he meant geographically. He covers hundreds of miles of locations, not in terms of workload. He's driving 30 miles to a location and then 40 miles to another and 20. They're just so spread out that he's stretched geographically, and so he's very.
That puts mental.
Yeah, he's very excited about potentially getting to one location and focusing on that one location instead of spending all his time in a car.
Thank you.
So, but in terms of your question, sir, we have a lot of, first we develop SOPs for each property specifically, and each airport, we will specifically write the SOP. We bring in our audit team and our head of our audit at every airport transition, and they spend the whole week going through every step to see what's being done today compared to how we would do it, and what do we need to change. And then they give us a full report back, and they help us implement all the procedures for cash handling, for revenue control, to ensure every dollar gets to the bank. Our audit team also comes in a minimum of twice a year to audit each airport, more often if the airport prefers. As I had mentioned earlier, we took over Pittsburgh Airport in October. In our first month, they normally report $4 million of revenue a month. In our first month, we reported just over $5 million in revenue, so a 22.5% increase. We've done that every single month since, so it's an incredible story. An example of how we came in, we really cleaned things up. We used our audit team. Our audit team trained our on-site managers and our on-site personnel. We raised the bar in terms of expectation. We also incentivize our employees to deliver good service and to have all their paperwork in order, and no shortages. But we would also give the airport access to the reporting, real-time access, so that they can look anytime they want to drill down into whatever they want in terms of revenue and revenue generation, expenses. So we would work with the airport on not just the budgeting and scheduling, but also the reporting, so that they're getting, whether it's daily. John Wayne Airport, we run all the landside services, and every day by 4, we have to take a stack of reporting that's about this big every single day. Interesting for a California airport to want that much paper every day, but we want to give our clients whatever they want. So
Your answer in some way begs my question. If you can come into an airport and the first month you can generate another $1 million revenue, what was happening to that money prior to you getting there?
That's right.
And are incidents of theft a common problem in the parking business?
Right. So there's a couple of things at Pittsburgh, and Don is now in charge of this airport, so I'll let him speak. But there is a small component of that is employment increase. So not all $1 million, but probably 65% of it was attributed to our cash handling procedures. Uh, At the time when we took over, they had employees doing every job. So employees were supervisors one day, maintenance people another, cashiers another. We stopped that immediately, and we identified what each person would be doing all the time, because that opens too much opportunity for malfeasance. Uh, a lot of the employees had keys to the equipment. We locked that down. The equipment was older. It would break down frequently, so they would just raise the gates. We put measurements in to not ever raise the gates so that we could still collect the revenue. So we took a lot of steps other than the cash handling, but I'll let Don speak a little bit more towards it.
Yeah, so as Kendra mentioned, whenever we transition an airport, we bring our audit team in for the first week of the operation, and they look at the way things have been done in the past. They implement our policies and procedures. And what we noticed in that case study was there were very lax controls in place. As Kendra mentioned, there was no separation of duty. So you had supervisors who were counting down monies and cashiers who were loading tickets into the ticket machines, which is not common practice in the parking industry. We immediately said, look, we've got to separate out all these responsibilities that touch the revenue in one way, shape, or form. So we did that. We implemented things like a gate vend log. The prior company had not been doing one, and then we started tightening down the controls on that, not just allowing people to vend the gates at a whim. If they vended the gate, we got a report from the system that identified why that gate was opened, and then they had to verify that by a supervisor and assistant manager that was on duty. As Kendra said, the revenue in October went up $1 million from the October prior. 23% increase in revenue. Enplanements were up 9.5% from the prior October. What we're doing now is we're now working with a forensic auditor to go back and look at the historical data and see, why we've continued to see, 18% increase year over year, 19% year over year, 20% year over year. Malfeasance, possibly. Not good controls, customers, employees of a parking company aren't the only ones that do revenue diversion. It's also customers. They'll do their own revenue diversions. They'll go from one lot to another. So we're trying to, just really define exactly what happened.
But in your professional opinion, over the years of being in the parking business, there is theft of money.
Yeah, I don't, any parking company that says that they've never had an employee steal money from them is not being honest. We've had our own issues. Every other parking company out there has had it. It's how you respond and how you react when you have the issue. You learn from your issue, you make your client whole. So if we discover, oh my goodness, an employee of ours is, just absconded with $20,000, we're making our clients whole, and then we're having our audit team come in and make sure that we've got corrective measures in place for it to never happen again.
And you're bonded and insured and all that, right?
Exactly.
Okay, well, that satisfies me.
One more quick question.
I'm sorry.
Okay, I was just gonna ask should you get this, on your transition, I noticed you have this 875 additional staff and 40 managers over across the alley. Are you going to bring all your staff in? Are you going to interview, and if there's a transition, what do you think?
Sure. If I could just add one more thing to Don's point for your question real quick, but it's also about being proactive. We try to ensure that we're bringing in our audit team, we're training our people, and we're finding the holes before we find
Well, I
potential
think you
theft.
answered that by saying your audit team's there first
Right.
and your experience. I'm satisfied with that
Great,
answer.
great. And in terms of your question, so we put a whole lot to our transitions. We bring in people, when we transitioned Pittsburgh Airport, for example, we had people there for about a month. And we started off with probably about 20 managers and above that we flew in and housed to help us transition and ensure that we had enough people and support on the ground. So we really look to bring varying levels of managers to help support that transition. But in terms of the hourly employees and the managers, the people that are on the ground here, we would want to give them all an opportunity to apply with us and interview with us. We believe that keeping as many employees that are in place today provides consistency and continuity. So we want the existing employees to continue working with us. They do have to pass a drug test. If they drive, they have to have a clean driving record. They have to pass a background check. But if they're interested in working with us, we want to talk to them and we want to give them that opportunity. We do take them through our training and our processes. You know, we set the bar pretty high for customer service and take them through all of our training, give them the tools and the support to do a great job and to show up excited every day to do a good job. But we really want to, we don't want to move a lot of people out of their job. But this whole group that you see before you will be here on the ground along with all of our teams. Days before the transition. We work through the transition very detailed and very carefully leading up to it through planning and communication with the airport. We have a very long checklist that we go through with hundreds and hundreds of items to ensure that we haven't missed anything. And our transitions are very well planned and typically very seamless, but because we put a lot to it.
Our unemployment rate in this county is like at 3, so.
Yeah.
And
Doc,
two questions, if I may. Do you have an ongoing drug and alcohol testing program?
We do. So you have to pass a drug test when you're hired, and if there's an incident, then you're sent to be, if a shuttle driver has a wreck or a valet driver has a wreck, we immediately send you to be drug tested. We don't typically, unless it's at the request of a client, we don't typically drug test every year, but if the client requires it or requests it, we will.
I mean,
CDL are random.
Subject to random.
Yeah, CDL drivers are random. They are random.
And for you, David? Right?
Yes, sir.
You're traveling between 16 airports by driving?
They're
These
not
are
all airports. No, currently I've worked at 5 airports in my background over 10 years, but currently right now, no. We do work LAX and John Wayne, so I help out with that. It's not under my direct supervision.
Airports, why are you driving?
No, the locations I'm working at now are municipalities. So like for the city of Laguna Beach, for the city of Dana Point, it's not the airports.
There's parking lots for cities.
Yeah, and if I can add to your personnel question, one of the things that I think sets us apart is we have a dedicated HR team in the state of Florida. We found that, in each of our geographic regions, to have an HR business partner within that state and within that region is a lot more beneficial than having just a corporate HR person, because someone who's in a home office that's 500, 600, 700 miles away does not know the unemployment rate in Fort Myers and Lee County. But someone who's in the state of Florida is more apt to know that and is more apt to understand the hiring struggles. And I think within our staffing budget, based on what was in there, I think we actually elevated the wage rates for most of the positions that were on site right now.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right, you got a minute.
Great, thank you very much. In closing, I'd like to share a few thoughts of why we think LAS Parking is really the best parking and transportation partner for RSW. Our experience speaks for itself. Well over 30 airports throughout the United States and North America. Our airport and transportation division teams have several hundred years of airport experience throughout their careers, and we've managed dozens and dozens and dozens of airports. Our support that we put to the airport is not just the local folks, it's local in the area, but also the transportation division, the airport division, and the Florida division. So you'd get a lot of support and focus at transition and ongoing. We embrace technology. We've put a lot of money behind our technology and would love to be able to roll it out here at the airport. And lastly, our culture, our focus on employee contentment and our servant leadership. All of these things we believe makes us the best choice for your parking and transportation program. And we're very grateful for being here. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, look at that, right on time.
Okay. Ready?
Yep, go right ahead. Thank you.
Okay. Our third and final presenter today is SP Plus Corporation, and I would like to introduce to you Jack Rakuto, President of the Airport Division for SP Plus.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm sure you're all having fun learning about parking. My name is Jack Rakuto. I'm the president of SP Plus Airport Division, and I've got with me my team here. It's a very experienced team. I think we're over 150 or maybe close to 200 years of combined experience. We've been managing your parking here for 26 years. I'd like to think we have a fairly unblemished record. We feel like this, I feel like it's home. I live in Naples, and I know Christina lives in North Naples, and so we feel like we're part of this community, and I think we've tried to act like that over the years. We've collected over $320 million of airport revenues here since we've been here for the Airport Authority, and I like to say without issue. I was around when we transitioned from the old terminal to the new, and at that time we implemented, and Bob Ball was the airport director then, we implemented our smart parking system, which I think is a terrific product for this airport. In terms of the long-term parking, we smart load it, we pick people up at their bumper, and it's an absolutely fantastic customer service that we provide, and has become sort of a model for the industry around the country. We recently got through and brought us through COVID. We managed through that. Health and safety of our employees is very important. And then we helped restore the airport back to where it is today with over $22 million worth of revenue. We also have a customer rewards program with 15,000 people participating here at our RSW. And we're really proud of all those things that we've done. We're going to talk a lot more about a lot of other technical things, but we feel that we were a part of RSW's #1 ranking as an airport. So talking about SP Plus and who we are, think of us as a technology-driven parking, transportation, logistics, and mobility company. We are a full-service parking company. We have over 3,200 operations across the United States, over 20,000 employees, and in many service areas, from event logistics to our bags remote check-in product, which is currently serving American Airlines here at the airport, and then airport parking, obviously, transportation and commercial operations. Today, we'll probably spend a lot more time talking about airports, and I want to talk a little bit about AeroParker and our technology play here at the airport. So, in reading through the comments from staff, it appeared to me that we probably did not articulate the technology play as well as we could have. And so I'm hoping that we'll have some questions that we'll be able to engage on this. About a year ago, we came in, we've been, even through COVID, investing millions of dollars into what we call our Sphere technology. And this is basically a full platform of reservation system, touchless parking, mobile payment options, et cetera, et cetera. We could spend a lot of time talking through it, and it is somewhat technical. But we continued to invest extremely heavily during COVID on this product. And I can assure you, if we move through, that SP Plus has invested in and delivered more technology to airports than any other parking operator in this country. We have, in the past year and a half or so, or in the past year, spent $50 million in developing through 2 acquisitions, one of which is an extremely important play in the airline space, and that company is called AeroParker. So what AeroParker is doing is it's going to give us a jump start and kind of a boost to our current technology. They're very smart software people, but they're also major platform for e-commerce and reservation systems available at most of the major hubs today. And so this product is our product. And so I hope we can get into talking a little bit more about that. We We acquired them in 2022. The name of the company was KMP. They go by Aero Parker and a number of other brands. They're in Europe. They have 30 locations across Europe, or 30 airports, and we have many of them in the United States. So they serve as a major platform at the New York airports through the New York Port Authority. If there were presentations about what's being done at LAX, that is our technology. And some of this technology is used by our competitors, but we own Aero Parker, and we recently transitioned the MWA operations, both DCA and IAD, and they also have it. So you can see there's quite a list of airports up here that have Aero Parker as their e-commerce platform: San Francisco, Houston, Oakland, Boston, and others. So what this gives us really, though, is a platform now to kind of supercharge our existing platform. And e-commerce, again, we could talk a lot about that, but it's basically, being able to bundle services and make money on hotels and car rentals and all of the things that we're doing in the digital world today. And it's also gives us a platform to jump off and start doing dynamic pricing and yield management. And that's something that you're going to hear about, because I've been actively involved in that for a number of years now, and a lot of airports are incorporating dynamic pricing and yield management into their RFP process. So think of it a little bit like the airlines do. It's about supply and demand and manipulating price, and just understanding through the data analytics what's going on at your operation. So extremely important, and hopefully we'll talk a little bit more about that in questions and answers. We don't have that. So we must be doing something right, because this next slide shows operations that we just transitioned within the last several years. Atlanta Hartsfield, we're proud to be at the #1 busiest airport in the United States. We took over, as I said, for MWA at IAD and Dulles. We recently took over St. Louis Lambert, San Jose, and just a whole host of other airports. And I think these airports are looking at us as the industry leader and liking what we have to offer. And I will tell you that we came into RSW, because you might ask the question, last year, and we presented our full suite of Sphere products. One of our chief technology officers spent a significant amount of time with staff going over what's available as technology offerings from SP Plus. So the other piece of the pie here, if we can advance. Oh, thank you. It's really about our people. I think I looked at the staff. I know that we're not the low bidder. We're probably second lowest. But there were some changes in this RFP that eliminated certain benefits, certain PTO and health insurance benefits. And we felt very strongly that we were not going to do that on the backs of the employees. And we understand that the airport has the right to modify what their reimbursables are. And so we put that into our fee. So about $100,000 of our fee can be associated with changes to the RFP in terms of the non-reimbursables that currently exist. During Hurricane Ian, we provided $40,000 out of our pocket to cover the wages that were lost when the airport was closed, and additional dollars to those that were distressed and had lost property and other things. So that's kind of bringing some parity and some and maybe just a little bit of an explanation as to why our fee might have been higher than one of the other companies. What have we done here? So, I mean, I think a big part of what we do across the country is when we go into a community, we try to become a part of that community. And, some of us do live here, and we're very proud of what we've been able to do. I'm watching on the news some of our drivers singing Christmas carols and some of the things we've been recognized for, and I'm really, really proud of that. You all know about e-awards and those kinds of things, and we provide transportation services and generally help out in the community. We're really excited this time to partner with the Shell Factory, and I know Pam is here with us today, and hopefully she'll have a chance to speak a little bit about what she's going to do with us. But we have exceeded the minority participation goals in this contract at 20%. We have Global Parking Systems. They've been with us for many years and with us at other airports. They'll be handling some of the transportation components. And then the Shell Factory, again, owned by Pam Cronin, brings sort of a unique flavor to the local presence that we have here, making sure that our marketing and promotion products and our customer service standards stay where they need to be and just keep us connected to the community. So, you know, what is the advantage with SP Plus? Well, clearly, I think we have 70 airports, 74 airports across the country that we service now, and we don't like to think of we don't judge ourselves by the number of airports, but more importantly, by how well we serve those airports. And I think we've done an excellent job in 26 years serving this airport. We'd love to be able to stay here because we think we have a lot to offer with the technology platforms that we're just rolling out, and it's a really, really exciting time to have SP Plus at your airport. We're financially strong. We're a publicly traded company. We have multi-layered revenue controls, and we have subject matter experts across many, many areas of airport parking. Thank you.
All right. Questions?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
John, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, what do you do at Salt Lake City? AOA, what's that?
AOA means Airport Operating Area, so we actually operate transportation on the airfield for Salt Lake City.
I'm in and out of Salt Lake City almost weekly this time of year and every other week in summer.
Yeah, so
Are you handling the parking garage?
we're handling all the parking at Salt Lake City.
So you have the advanced reservations?
We do. We do have the advanced reservations at Salt Lake City. In fact, we're doing a forum and working with the airport on a forum of dynamic pricing right now, and the revenues have gone through the roof. Some of, as you might know,
You haven't told me that.
well, this concept really started in Europe. Manchester Airport Group, which some of you may or may not be familiar with, was a company that I had a strategic relationship with, and there was a lady named Rose Andolino who was a commissioner up in Chicago because we run Chicago, O'Hare, and Midway airports. And when she left the airport, she said, "What do you think of this concept of dynamic pricing?" And so really Rose and I were the ones that through the AAAE and ACI and other events around the country began to push this dynamic pricing model. And at the time, really Manchester Airport Group was kind of the leader in that. Now, what we have now in owning AeroParker is a platform of our own, because what will probably be discussed here and elsewhere is my parking garage is full. Should I be raising rates? It's data analytics, right? What should we be doing in the parking operation to optimize our revenues? And that's all done through basically data and information. So that's really an advantage that we have with AeroParker, because I think we're going to really get supercharged with some of the neat software that they have and the platforms that they're bringing forward. But yes, we do a lot of that in Salt Lake City. And people will say, that they do it, they're the only ones doing it, all that kind of. That's just not the case. We are leading the industry, and we've put $50 million behind these products just in the last 2 years. And we could probably spend a long, long time talking about it.
You're familiar with the Salt Lake system?
I am. I mean,
Level 2, level 3.
Yeah, I mean, we have a division senior vice president. I mean, I don't intimately know every detail of every airport. If he was here right now, he happens to manage the West, and he is not here, but certainly, I know what's going on at the airport, no question.
It's a good system.
It's a great system. And Salt Lake City, we're very proud. Salt Lake City has renewed us, and they want to be partners with us, as are a number of airports that we flashed up there. Just,
The website isn't very good, to be honest with you.
we can help them with that. We can help them with that too, because there too we're able to come in and give them lots of ideas about how to improve their website, click-throughs, and all of that sort of thing. Google searches, just optimizing their website is something that they could use, and we know that, and we do that at a number of other airports around the country. It's part of what we offer.
John?
You've been our provider for, I guess, about 25, 26 years, and you're speaking of all the technology. To what degree, I don't particularly think our parking arrangements are up to I won't call it standard, but up to what I've been through in a lot of airports.
The new
Why-
standard,
Pardon?
the new standard.
Okay, or whatever
Yeah.
the new standard is.
Well, parking
So
dynamics,
why is that?
well, parking dynamics, parking reservations are a relatively new concept. As I mentioned, it's come over in the past few years. Then we went through COVID. We have proposed our Sphere parking products, our reservation system, our touchless parking, our mobile payment options. We had bags, our remote airline check-in folks here present at length and in detail to the airport. They currently serve at the curb here with American Airlines. All of these things have been proposed. But in fairness to the airport, we've gone through a number of pretty dramatic things that have happened over the past 3 or 4 years, not the least of which was COVID, where we've downsized and then had to revamp it, and they're very challenging in terms of making sure we got people in place, that everybody's staying safe, and those kinds of things. I knew you were going to ask that question, but we did propose this last year. We did send a follow-up letter on it in October about our Sphere products, and then the recent acquisition of AeroParker. That's a recent thing, and that's something relatively new.
Okay.
But we've actually looked at a lot of different things here. We've looked at mobility and transportation type options here as it relates to how we're handling people out there, certain technologies in the buses. We probably at one point in time or another have taken a look at wayfinding and other things, license plate recognition, and guidance, parking guidance. I always get hung up on that term, but there are very expensive options. If you're running out of space, you can take a look at a parking guidance system. In your case, it'd probably be over $1 million to install that. But I think it's more around pricing it the right way, because you do have space out there. And that's where the data analytics and the information comes into play.
Robin?
So I did just get the sense and the feel that this has really been on your radar for about the past 2 years, and you're catching up, is what I sense and feel from your presentation and from reading information. But everybody, being a business person, everybody knows their competition, right? They
Right.
know what products they have, what they don't have, where you think you should be. So what do the other two have that's presented us today that you don't have?
Nothing.
Okay.
Absolutely nothing. In fact, we have implemented, now again, I'm talking about across the United States. We have commercial operations, we have stadium operations, we've managed logistics for the Olympics, for Daytona 500. These systems are relatively new. There's a back office. The back office has to keep up with the front end of the technology. So, we could sit here and talk about that. It's not just quite as cut and dry as everybody thinks in terms of implementation and how that works. When reservations get canceled, what does it look like? How do you reconcile that? How does the back office reconcile that? So there are a lot of things that are going on, but no, SP Plus clearly has developed in-house more of this technology than I know any other operator. And the others will take advantage of what's available on the street, and they will implement some system. We just saw AeroParker. One of the things on there was LAX with that's us. So,
If I may, then what do you feel you have to offer or have been doing for us that they don't have to offer? Is there anything? Or is all of y'all kind
we
of
have our own proprietary revenue technology. It's a gateless system. Where we can use through a reservation system. You can go online, you can pay. Then you get a credential. That credential then gets scanned at the entrance and exit. You have to have special equipment to do that, a QR code or whatever. You can use other things as credentials to go in and out of the parking facility. If you have license plate recognition, that can become part of it. If you have transponders on your vehicles, that can be a part of the credential. So there's many ways to let people in and out of a system and to use as a credential. But the bottom line is you still have to have a reservation system, a reservation platform. That's really where I think that we are ahead of our competition is on the e-commerce side. We now have the software in-house that we've paid for to really take off on the e-commerce side. And that's really what we're looking for. And that's probably what you should be looking for as it relates to how revenues are shared. Enhancing non-aeronautical revenues is very, very important. And I get extremely frustrated. I mean, I've been around the country and talked to dozens of airports about dynamic pricing. I mean, there's codified ordinances as it relates to fee structure and other things that you have to get beyond. And I have a lot of board members say to me, we love that, we want to do that. And then we get to a certain point, and then it's kind of like the devil's in the details then, and you've got to get it done. But what I'm here to tell you today is there is nobody in this country that has more technology and a better platform than SP Plus right now. And I'm sorry, we didn't always have the capabilities that we have now, but we did have capabilities in the past that we have presented relative to reservation systems, touchless parking, um, even gateless solutions. I mean, we're doing overflow parking in Reno using handhelds and, saving them a lot of money. And we're doing a lot of things at Salt Lake City that you mentioned where they're making more money. So
How come we don't have that here? I mean, you're in charge. And I think this gentleman has something he would like to, you couldn't see him sneaking up behind you there, but he's a big guy.
I'm
so-
trying to help him out here, my dad here, so.
Oh, is that?
No, we operate reservation systems at over 30 airports across the United States, full-blown reservation systems. None of our competitors even operate 30 airports, so we certainly have more of that technology in place. Now, our team has presented, I think Jack had mentioned it earlier, to the airport staff. Twice last year, there was a follow-up, so a lot of this technology has been presented. There was delays. Now the RFP process is out, so I think the staff is really kind of waiting until this process settles out, and then they'll make some real decisions about the technology is what I believe. But we are certainly by far, we also do, Salt Lake City is one that Jack mentioned, but we're the only parking company that has a full dynamic pricing and yield management functioning operation in place, and that's whereby people make a reservation depending on length of stay, depending on the time of year or demand. The prices fluctuate, so you're getting people that are staying extended periods that might otherwise use alternate transportation. You make it affordable for them based on algorithms and other factors to capture new customers. It also competes with off-airport. We don't have a huge competitors here, but that's certainly you want to capture every dollar that you can capture. So, we have presented, and I think if we're selected, then we can certainly would love to have additional dialogue and implement these things that we're talking about.
No, I've heard a lot of talk about all this technology, and we were just at a workshop a couple of weeks ago, and we were grappling with the parking situation here at the airport. And we have a short-term parking garage that's overcrowded most of the time. And we have large parking lots out here, long-term parking, that are not full all the time. And we're sitting here trying to make a decision on pricing to clear up more space in the parking garage. And it seems to me that if you're here and you have all this technology, you should be giving us some direction as to what the pricing should be and how effective it's going to be in clearing out space in the short-term garage, and how much revenue will we lose if we move people long-term parking? What kind of pricing should we institute over a period of time should we give people a discount that are repeat customers? All of these questions we don't have the answers to.
you have a capacity problem in your short term. That's kind of a good problem to have. Yes, you should be raising, you should be raising the rate. I know that that was discussed in a workshop. This is a very affluent market, as many of you know. I mean, some of it, parts of it are. $24, $25. I mean, that wouldn't be unusual at all. We have air. It depends on the supply and demand. But
Base any of this on technology? I mean, surely we know when the hours per day that the garage
of
does
course,
not have any capacity.
sure. So that's where the dynamic pricing piece comes into it, because we'll be able to tell once we get to that point where we've got all of the data, and it all starts with a reservation system. I mean, some of it will come out of the revenue control system, but a lot of it is going to be based on the demographics and exactly what's happening with the reservations. When is demand the highest? What hours? How can we price the other parking products effectively? How do we coupon it? How do we give people incentives to go from one parking lot to another parking lot? Unfortunately here, I mean, I think, you do have a limited amount of space as it relates to short-term parking, and you're probably going to have to raise rates. And that's going to be, there's some public relations issues there. There's going to be some training issues about when people fly in, they go in, they park there, they come back, and it, went from 18 to 24. All of those things have to be done and worked in partnership with us and the airport. So yes, there are many ways that we can assist you as it relates to pricing those things and letting you know what we think that's going to mean for you in terms of margin.
Let me
That
ask you.
begs a question, if I may, why haven't we done that?
Yeah.
Well, may I ask the question, maybe it's of staff I should be asking. Obviously, we didn't have a 26-year contract. Has
No.
this contract been, what was the terms
5
of
years.
each contract?
I
And
believe
then
it was 5 years.
5 years, okay. So did we have RFPs every 5 years on this?
Mr. Chair, if
Yes,
I may.
sir.
My preference would be to finish the presentation, and we can certainly discuss some of
I agree with
because
that.
they're in the middle of a presentation.
Right.
And if you got questions for staff,
Let,
I think it would
let
make
Noel
more sense
finish his
that we
question
could.
and, yeah.
Okay, and then the other
Okay, thank you.
issue that we know associated with parking facilities is the potential for fraud. What type of audit system do you have in place so that we can detect when a driver is hoarding money or we have a faulty gate and it's not recording correctly, we're losing revenue?
Well, that's why I brought it up in the beginning. We've collected $320 million over the years here. We've not had a problem. I'm going to let Bob address specifically what our revenue control procedures are, and those are tied directly to the revenue control system. I think you have a hub system here, but Bob can tell you the multi-layered approach that we take with revenue control.
Sure. First and foremost, the revenue control, starts at the location level through extensive training for our local staff. But we have a multi-layer approach. We do regional audits. We have a national audit team that comes in and does unannounced audits. We have a mystery shop, and then we have Sarbanes-Oxley certification, so that we have people that are looking at the daily reports and all the information that's provided. So we collect $1.6 billion a year for our airport clients, and our reputation is impeccable throughout the industry. Your team audits us very extensively. We have CPA audits. So there's multiple layers of people that are looking at our procedures and
Well, have you identified any incidents at this airport of that?
where people have fraud.
Where there was some.
Yes, I mean, both our own employees, both customers, people try to beat the system, not as frequent.
You recoup those funds back to the airport?
Yes, we are responsible for collecting the cash, whether it's collected or not. We're responsible for every dollar that should have been collected, correct? Okay. And we have made up shortages before. If somebody's, cashier till, things are a lot better now than when we started in the business when it was 90% cash. So now we're flipped the other way around. So with the credit cards, I mean, PCI is a huge thing for us. We have a whole dedicated PCI department. We have been your merchant of record, and we've safeguarded, like Jack said, over $300 million in revenue during our tenure.
Thank you.
I'd like to say, we appreciate your work for 26 years, I promise you. And I would suspect, in some ways, you're trying to be kind to say that you've made recommendations over the years, but you don't implement them. You just recommend things, and as this technology is emerging, you have certainly recommended things, and we're kind of in that transition period right now where some of those will get implemented. Would that be correct to say?
Yeah, that is definitely correct. So, not to say that the staff has not been cooperative. They certainly have, it's been two ways. They've asked us on specific recommendations, and we've presented things that without them asking us. So reservation system, there's an airport every month that's starting a new reservation system. We've taken on a dozen airports in the last year where we've implemented reservations. So right now, it's still less than half of the airports in the U.S. have an online reservation system. In the next couple of years, 90% of them will have it. Only about 10% of the public makes a parking reservation in the U.S., where it's about 98% in Europe. So eventually, every airport is going to have an online reservation system. And it's also a touchless option, so people don't have to take a ticket. They don't have to touch a device. They simply scan their phone in and out, and receipt is emailed to their account. So there's a lot of advantages for starting with a reservation platform, and then from there you can build on and do the dynamic pricing. We have full dashboards that we provide access to the staff so they can see real-time information and also historical information about all the transactions and all the activity.
Super. Any other questions? All right, you've got a minute.
Just about there.
Yes. Go ahead, 1 minute.
You want me to take it?
Yeah. Well, we'll tag team. We are very, very proud to have served you for 26 years. This means a lot to me. I live down here. She lives down here. We've been a part of this community for a long time, and we respectfully want to remain. And I think we have a lot to offer, and I think our people are important. Our engagement in the community is important. Our engagement with you is important. And I'll let you finish, Bob.
Yeah, I mean, we have a great staff. Jack mentioned early unblemished customer service record. I mean, the smart parking, the people love it. The shuttle service that our people provide. So we've talked a lot about technology, but there's also the human side and the interaction and really being part of your airport. And we feel, and I know our local staff feels that way, that we're part of RSW and part of the authority. And Jerry O'Brien, who's sitting back there, has served us for a number of years, just stellar. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Ben, why don't you got anything you want to add for us?
No, I would, if there are specific questions that you have for staff regarding, because I know we were getting into, some of the whys and, things with staff. I think, Steve can certainly address some of those questions. I just didn't want it to play into.
I'd kind of like to make a statement if I could.
Well, you've got the floor.
So, okay. I think what we've heard here today is three of the best presentations from any different folks that are looking to do work at the airport that I've heard over the last 10 years. And that's going to make our decision very difficult here today. But if a company isn't selected, that doesn't mean that they're not a good company, because what we heard here today was all three were just excellent presentations. Thank you very much.
I agree. Any other discussion before we vote?
Yeah, I was just curious how these contracts roll. Were they every 5 years?
Yeah, I think they were every 5 years. Some of them, I believe SP actually, we went through a competitive process, and I believe at least one time they got it again, if not more than once. Chris, do you know? Thank you.
That resulted in a 5-year contract.
Melissa, you want to come
You need
up?
to come up to the mic.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel.
Yeah, well, we'll take it.
Go ahead. All right, there was an RFP issued for these services in 2015. That resulted in a 5-year contract, which was good until 2020. And then in 2020, there was a contract amendment that was made that brought the contract to current. It expires in September of this year. Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? All right, pass your ballots up.
Can we ask staff questions before we vote? Mark, you got a minute?
What did you need, Scott?
Can we talk to staff before we vote?
Well,
I'd like to get their input on how the system is going.
I think afterwards, yes, but not before.
Thank you. Yeah, too late. Here's the Salt Lake system.
Okay, Scott, did you have something?
Oh, yes, I do. You folks probably know that my career was in commercial real estate, which was including commercial property management, cleaning crews, so forth and so on. And this airport has always been known, its reputation has been that it's a clean, nice, beautiful place to go. And I'm a little concerned that we are losing that. I'm concerned that, you know, I travel through the airport a lot, as I know all of you do. But the other day, it just really hit me when I came through, and it was early in the day on Sunday, and the floors were not clean. They had, you know, coffee that people had walked through and trampled, and the restrooms, and I would have taken pictures, except that's not really an acceptable thing to do in the men's room.
Well, they would have called the authorities on you, but.
Yeah, somebody would have gone. But I was shocked at the condition of the men's room. It looked like it hadn't been cleaned in several days, not several hours. And I just wonder, you know, I think we need to kind of put our finger down on the cleaning company and let them know that as one member of this committee, I am concerned about it. I know Ben and you guys and the staff talk to these folks a lot, but I gotta say, I always sit in first class. Pardon me, that's a snobby thing to say, but it gives me an opportunity to ask people, how do you like this airport? And the things I hear are, it's easy to get in and out of, it's clean, blah, blah, you know, the nice things you want to hear. But I've been losing the, gee, how nice and clean and presentable it is. When people come to Southwest Florida, especially folks who haven't been here before, this is the first thing they see. And I'm just concerned that we need to pay attention and let our folks know. I think we have a great cleaning company, but sometimes they're falling down on the job.
Well,
and I think it's up to us to enforce. And staffing's got to be a problem. We have 3% unemployment. You know, I know it's a difficult thing, but that doesn't offer an excuse.
Well, I think management's heard you, and
Could I,
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, if I may. First of all, I want to thank you for bringing it up. I want to say that our brand has not changed, and I also want to say that with confidence that what happened, what you noticed, is not isolated, because I too have ran into some issues, and I want to make sure that the advisory committee understands that your team is very engaged with the company that's in charge of that on our behalf. And it's our responsibility to make sure that they're doing their job 365 days a year. And if it was an isolated incident, I would say that's the first I've ever heard of that, but I've seen it myself. So I know it's not isolated, and I can assure you that Steve and Chris and our team in contracts are very much engaged in that. There's a lot of things that happen during March that you can say, well, we're busy, we're short-staffed. Well, for me, that's not acceptable. We have a
Not
brand,
anymore.
we have a brand, and it hasn't changed. If anything, it's been elevated, and they need to step up. The one thing that has changed, and and it's not an excuse. We went from a completely different type of contract. Remember the issues that we had. We went to a performance-based contract. Well, we have very specific requirements in the contract and what the standards are. And if the standards aren't being met, we have recourse. And I'm not afraid to use them.
Good.
But it's a process, we need to make sure that we're working with them and they understand exactly where we're coming from. But I just will close with that hearing it publicly from an advisory committee member is good for me.
Yeah, well, that's why I wanted to do it.
Yeah, it is good for me, and I think it's good for our team to know, and I'll use it. I'll use it, so I appreciate that.
What were the qualifications for this company? Was this their first cleaning job?
No, actually, so the company that does the cleaning for us is a joint venture, is it? It's a joint venture with SP Plus and DFS. They are the company, and DFS is based out of Chicago, and SP Plus also does terminal maintenance and stuff like that. So, so we'll be working with both those companies, of course, to make sure that we. So, but I appreciate you bringing it up. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you for the time.
Anything else?
Thank you for the time.
Thank you, sir. Okay, on with the agenda then.
Oh, yeah.
Executive
You ready for me?
Director.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. Just real quick, I know, Robbie, you gotta go. No. During February, there was 967,416 passengers that traveled through Southwest Florida International Airport, which was a 16% decrease compared to February of 2022. The traffic leader was Southwest Airlines with 185,205 passengers. Rounding out the top 5 airlines were Delta, United, American, and JetBlue. Year-to-date traffic is down 13% compared to last year. Even with the decrease in traffic, RSW finished the first 2 months of 2023 with as the 33rd busiest airport out of the top 40 for TSA throughput, surpassing bigger airports like Raleigh, Durham, North Carolina, Chicago Midway, and Sacramento, California. Page Field had 17,571 air operations, which was a new monthly record for us. And base operations, our FBO, sold 202,332 gallons, which was actually a 29% decrease from February of 2022. However, it was still our 3rd busiest February on record for fuel sales. And that's all I have, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Port Attorney.
No items, Mr. Chair.
In the tradition of, what was the other guy's name before Mark?
Greg Hagan.
Yes, Greg. You do well. Thank you, sir. I have no comments.
Are you ready for us?
I wasn't finished yet, but that's cool. We can publish now if you'd like,
Yeah.
Melissa.
Okay, once again, for the record, my name is Melissa Wendell, Senior Procurement Manager, Lee County Port Authority, and in reference to RFP 2321 for the operation and management of airport parking facilities and shuttle services for the Lee County Port Authority, the first ranked firm is ABM Aviation Incorporated. The second ranked firm is SP Plus Corporation, and the third ranked firm is Laz Florida Parking LLC. Thank you.
All right.
And we
Take a motion to accept those?
I move that we accept the results.
All right. Any discussion on that?
No, I just want to say, great presentations from all the vendors, and I really appreciate the effort, the time that they put into coming here and doing what I consider to be an excellent job on all counts. And there were some tough questions, and I'm pleased that they all came here.
All right. Any other comments on it? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimously approved. Okay, so I have no comments. Do any of my committee members have any comments? Boy, we've said enough today. Any public comment on any other matters? All right. Move we adjourn. Thank you, guys. Learn from the best.